Read Time magazine at your next dentist appointment and you'll be good to go. You'll have so many ideas for how you can diversify and promote and make better curriculum for everyone. Make it more diverse and empathetic. All you need is a visit to the dentist's office. Hi everybody, my name is Maya. Welcome to my channel. If you are new, feel free to click the subscribe button if you so wish, and if you're returning, welcome back. Here's the scoop. The world is in a bit of a mess right now. Not sure if, hopefully you know that. But yeah, the world is kind of not doing great at the moment. And I think that institutions are starting to pick up on this and realize that they need to make changes if they wish to remain afloat. An example of this would actually be, as sad as it may sound, my school district. At the end of last year, I had started having conversations with the leadership at my schools, talking about how we can change English curriculum in schools to promote not only diverse voices, but to increase empathy across the student body. I fervently believe that reading is a really powerful way for especially children and teenagers to learn about the world around them, the way that people diverge, but how at the core, we're all the same. We have the same wishes and wants and desires. We just want to be happy, to make other people happy, and to feel accepted. That's really it. And I think reading can teach kids that very thing. Every single book I read in the 10th grade was written by a dead white man. And if reading is aimed at teaching us about the world around us, if we're meant to extract themes and morals and ideas, shouldn't we be reading about people from all different backgrounds? Where are my female authors at? Where are my POC authors at? What's going on, school district of mine? But hey, wouldn't you believe it? We start school again in like a month and 2 weeks or something like that, which is bonkers. The other day, my school sent out a survey. If you're in my school district and you know me, please take that survey, talking about race in my school district, how it's approached, whether or not we feel as the student body that schools are doing enough to promote equity and diversity, things like that. Pretty much, I answered insufficient. Not as an insult, as constructive criticism. And why was it constructive? Because, well, I provided some tangible solutions. The first of which is to, shocker, add more diverse books to English curriculum to be actively taught. And then, would you believe it, this morning I sat down for breakfast to have cottage cheese with blueberries and gluten-free toast, and what did I see but this here article called "For Greater Empathy, Read Black Fiction" by Jasmine Guillory. So, have I read the article yet? No, because I want to read it with you. I want us to react together. Yeah! Authenticity. Anyone who knows me will tell you that I love being the center of attention. But for my 5th book, Party of Two, I was compelled to write about a character who shies away from the spotlight. Yes, she's a black woman like me, and yes, she's a lawyer, which I was. But just because Olivia and I are alike on the surface doesn't mean we're the same. The 5 black women at the heart of each of my books are all different from one another, and from me, which means I've had to discover their histories and quirks one by one. For Olivia, caught by her love of a man whose life as a public figure threatens to derail her own ambitions, I had to figure out what she was scared of, what brought her joy, and how to balance the two. In other words, I needed my empathy. Yes, Jasmine Guillory. Yes, I am going to read that book. You best bet I will. So before we proceed, empathy. Awesome. But on a different topic, let's talk about individuality and the privilege that it is to consider yourself an individual in society. I've never considered myself to be anything other than an individual because I am an individual, and so are you, and so is everyone who I will ever meet or talk to or encounter, which is pretty incredible. But when you're part of an oppressed group or a minority, whether that be a literal quantitative minority or just an oppressed group, you don't have that privilege. I was reading about this in the novel White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo. If you are a person of color, that is a focal point of your identity because race will often, specifically if you're black in America, play into the way you live your life, the opportunities presented to you, etc. You don't necessarily have the privilege of being viewed as an individual in society because society will instead see you as a part of a group. They don't see you. Does that make sense? They see a certain facet of you and stop there. So just the fact that this author is already touching on that idea within her own novels is really important to me. Women are not all the same. Men are not all the same. You cannot read one book by a female author and tell me you understand the female experience. Similarly, you cannot read a book with one black main character and tell me that you understand and empathize fully with the black experience. Allyship is a journey, and re-education is a constant process. So kudos to this author. I'm already loving your article. A+, A+. Writing fiction helps me relate with people who have inner and outer lives different from my own. Reading fiction can do the same thing, yes, to find that kind of empathy for black people, for black lives of all kind. We need look no further than fiction. Hey, school district, are you hearing this? This is good stuff, man. As anti-racism books fill up the bestseller lists, they are, go read them, I'm thrilled that people want to learn more about racism, white supremacy, and their own role in both. But when we say Black Lives Matter, we mean the whole of Black lives, not just when we die at the hands of police, and not just when our lives intersect with white lives to our detriment. This is an incredibly important point. Empathy, right? You can empathize with people who are hurting, but it's equally, if not more important, to empathize with people when they are thriving. We need to support people when they are succeeding. And when we read books with characters of color, if we read books with characters of color in schools, it's often when that POC is struggling. For instance, my sister was telling me about her curriculum as a freshman in high school, and the only book she read with a black main character was To Kill a Mockingbird. Now, I have not read To Kill a Mockingbird, so take this all with a grain of salt, but to the best of my knowledge, To Kill a Mockingbird's black character is on trial for a crime he did not commit, so we're seeing him framed solely in the focus of struggle and pain and injustice, which are absolutely valid parts of his identity and things he will struggle with given the nature of our society. But he's also a person with loves and losses and friends and beautiful experiences and hopes and dreams. So I think it's an incredible thing that Jasmine Guillory points this out in her article.
In the 1962 film adaptation of Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird, Southern white lawyer Atticus Finch attempts to save a falsely accused black man from conviction in the 30s. As admirable as much of their writing and ideas were for the time, staples of American film and literature like To Kill a Mockingbird helped to establish a norm of stories about black history being told through the lens of noble white protagonists.
When we say Black Lives Matter, yes, they matter in the sense that, of course, they're facing so much oppression and horrible systematic racism, but they also matter as lives, as what makes a life. And what constitutes a life isn't solely struggle, it's also beauty and joy and hopes and ambition and everything in between. So I think that's an incredible point. Shall we continue? Racism is not the only thing to know about what it means to be black. Our joys, our sorrows, our love, our grief, our struggles to fit in, our families, our accomplishments, and our triumphs. These things also matter. Black children matter, and not only the ones killed before their time. You may think you already know that, but history has proved otherwise. Yes, it has. Minute example, just look at my school's curriculum. I'll put up some stats here. Real proud of them. I love you, school. I'm so grateful to go to you, but please, please do better. Black lives are not a problem to be solved or an academic text that can be studied. To recognize black lives as ones to celebrate, empathize with, and care about, here's your anti-racism work. Read more fiction by and about black people. Multiple studies have shown that reading certain types of fiction increases a reader's empathy for others in the world. Fiction gives you a window into both lives you know and recognize, and ones you don't. It helps you put yourself in the shoes of those characters, even when you have a different perspective when it comes to race, gender, or sexual identity. I've read so many books about people who are nothing like me. Often by necessity, since I can't think of only one book I was assigned to read in my entire K-12 education that was about a black girl or woman, and I've learned something from many of them. As characters confront events and situations we've never experienced, fiction helps us imagine how we would deal with them. My second book, The Proposal, starts with the main character, Nick, refusing a public marriage proposal at Dodger Stadium, oh that's awkward, with thousands of people watching. I knew that A consummate people pleaser who has to work up to correcting a mispronunciation of my own name, I'm sorry, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, Jasmine, would have never been able to say no under that much pressure. So I had to get into Nick's head, learn what kind of person she was, and how and why she wouldn't hesitate to turn down someone on a jumbotron. That work helped me understand people in the world who make bold, fearless decisions. It made me envy them and sympathize with the blowback they inevitably receive. That'd be awful. Oh man. When we read heartbreaking reportage that includes the numbers of dead, sick, enslaved, or impoverished, they can feel like just that, numbers. But fiction brings out recognition in a way that nonfiction doesn't. When it does its job, you are engrossed in the story, feeling everything the characters do. When I read Homecoming, which tells the story of the descendants of two half-sisters, one line raised in Africa and one in slavery in America, I viscerally understood the pain that the Fugitive Slave Act had caused. When I read Jacqueline Woodson's Red at the Bone about a mother, daughter, and grandmother living in present-day Brooklyn, I understood the lifelong generational effects of the Tulsa Massacre. But fiction can also make you smile from ear to ear and thrill in the wonder of a new discovery, magic, or love. When I read One Crazy Summer by Rita Williams Garcia about 3 little black girls who lived with the Black Panthers, I felt how much fun they had, even amid family struggle and revolution. When I read Leah Johnson's You Should See Me in a Crown, I knew in my soul what it was like to be a black teenager growing up in a small town in Indiana and falling in love for the first time. I hope that when people read my romance novels, and those of other black writers like Farah Rocon and Alexa Martin and Kennedy Ryan and many more, they feel the joy of black women who are happy and desired and accomplished and loved. White media rarely portray black women as worthy of a happily ever after. Too often we're rendered as objects, created to carry out another character's purpose. We can be sexual, yes, but not for a relationship, not to fall in love with.
While the white protagonists often get love stories and complex character development, the non-white characters tend to be reduced to their negative experiences.
Never had one before.
What, a room to yourself?
A bed.
We can be maternal, yes, but for white children, not our own.
In The Help, it is Skeeter's revelation that her childhood maid has been fired that leads her to want to expose racism on behalf of the other black maids in her community, while in reality, black people were eager to tell their own stories and had been doing so since before the abolition of slavery.
We can be funny, yes. What a great, sassy best friend character that woman was.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for your token black girlfriend.
But never the star. In the pages of the romance novels I read and write, I see the black women I've seen my whole life. They're successful, respected, and involved in loving, fulfilling, and happy relationships. I want the world to know not just about our pain, but the whole of our lives. Especially our joy. Alright, and before I give you my thoughts on the ending of that, I just want to tell you she has this reading list for picks for all ages, and they are as follows. Fumbled by Alexa Martin, The Boyfriend Project by Farah Rocon, From the Desk of Zoe Washington by Janae Marks, Homegoing by Ya Gayasi, You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson, Queen Move by Kennedy Ryan, One Crazy Summer by Rita Williams Garcia, and Red at the Bone by Jacqueline Woodson. And I have some of my own that I'm going to ramble off real quick. Black Girl Unlimited by Echo Brown. Slay, I haven't started yet, but I cannot wait. I'm about to start An American Marriage by Tayari Jones. There's so many out there, guys. There's no excuse. And right now I'm talking to the school district to not have books to read. You don't need me to come up with books for you. Read Time magazine at your next dentist appointment and you'll be good to go. You'll have so many ideas for how you can diversify and promote and make better curriculum for everyone. Make it more diverse and empathetic. All you need is a visit to the dentist's office. My main takeaways from this article: 1, individuality is a privilege but it's also so important to reflect in books with POC main characters because they are individuals. Another takeaway here is that, especially now in the heart of what's going on in society with Black Lives Matter, it's important to remember that we need to use, and I'm addressing my white viewers, we need to use our privilege as white people, specifically if you have a platform, to promote and amplify POC voices. But we need to make sure we're not only showing those voices in one light. Yes, we have to acknowledge the pain and sorrow and suffering, specifically in the Black community right now, but it's just as important to recognize their joys and their triumphs because that brings us even closer together. Empathy is a quilt. You can't feel just the sorrow or just the anger. You also have to feel the happiness. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you come away with maybe a new idea of what you should be reading and how you should be approaching reading, specifically POC authors and characters, some recommendations, the like. I'm so happy right now. This article, I'm gonna frame it. I think I'm gonna frame it and I'll put it, maybe I'll put it above my bookshelf. I think I'll do that. And with that, I will leave you. Bye, everyone.